Hello, everybody. I thought it was time to do a little bit of an update. I know it's been a little bit, but things have been a little busy and just trying to get things in order and so forth. So I hope you'll understand that part of it. And I just wasn't, frankly, quite ready yet. So, but here it is, and this is little part two of the journey. So this keeps going where I left off with the doctor's visits and so forth. Got back, was still feeling a bit rough for the next few days and so forth, um, and did decide to keep following up, although I got out of the Bermuda Triangle down in Kingston, Belleville, and Bancroft, and went back to our regular family doctor and shifted everything down to Peterborough area, which is a totally different district, and has a satellite cancer center in that, and we'll go down there for my scans. Um, so I followed along with the protocols or the procedures from here. So went down to do a upper chest scan, and also started to do the procedures for following into the cancer clinic that comes out of that hospital. So over the next 3 weeks was a few appointments running back and forth. Did get another appointment with the family doctor after the chest ones were in, and my chest scans all came back perfectly clear, which was good news. But I had no problems in that sense, or no symptoms showing anything in that sense, so it wasn't that big of a surprise. But anyway, good news for that side of things. In the meantime, though, we didn't give up on any kind of research. Karen was extremely busy with that, and I kind of followed along and so forth. Now, we had found a natural path with inside of town, our local town here, who had quite a bit of experience and so forth. So we did go and see him, and he uses a biometrical system to analyze you, as well as the information from symptoms and so forth. He also had all the information, because we released records to him, of the previous scans and blood pressures and so forth and so on. He's had about some 40 years experience in the field. And when Karen first spoke to him, he gave a very interesting response, and he goes, "Well, that's interesting. We should find the cause of that," which was quite a different approach than we had heard before. So we did, within the week that I got back, go and see him. I went through the testing, and his analysis of things were, okay, you're in this stage now. It's fairly advanced, so we need to see if we can correct this if it hasn't gone too far, and also start attacking the root. So, long and short of it, his testing really came down to adrenal glands not functioning, and having a lot of problems. Immune system definitely weakened, and kidneys not functioning properly. And he also linked a lot of things back to amalgam in the teeth. And I don't have the best teeth in the first place, so that definitely resonated with between all the different mercury and so forth in the fillings, that this is being also a progressive leaching of these toxins in you, along with your whole other parts of your lifestyle. With inside of that first visit, he also made up a concoction. I call it medication. I like to keep things a little bit more simple and maybe a little bit more in tune with the language that people can follow along with a little bit easier. So I do refer to all of these things as there is protocols and there's medication. Now it depends on whether you're actually talking about the medical field's medication, which is simply pharma and is nothing but man-made chemicals. That all, if we ever listen to any parts of the commercials that we're bombarded with, have their litany of side effects, and for one, all they're ever doing is treating the symptoms and not the causes. Very few, I think, even look for the causes. It's a direct derivative of fighting the symptoms and what that is causing. And then I think at least half of the time people are fighting the side effects of what they're being given. And then there's medicine that comes from the straight natural field and is derived and has no side effects. So I do refer to things as a protocol and a medicine. My medications, you'll hear me refer to. Just know that that always means anything that I'm taking is from the pure natural sourcing of things. So he derived up a medication for me to be on for the first week, and then come back for new testing and see how that protocol actually worked for me and for my symptoms that I was projecting out and for what I was testing for. Now, within the first 2 or 3 days of being on this, I lost my nausea. I was no longer vomiting 3 or 4 times a day. And I was actually starting to feel better. So I was quite thrilled with this. And it was kind of very hopeful too. So of course that helps the mind-body connection too, which made things a little less stressful and a little less imminent of having to get all these things in order so quickly. So I stayed on that for the week, and in the meantime kept on going through the protocols. And the first one was a radiologist who we visit, very short visit. He said basically you're too far progressed, radiation is not going to do anything for you, so I don't have anything for you to look at here. So that was a very quick visit. The next one was then now a chemotherapist. So that was booked in, and that was going to be within the next couple of weeks. And in the meantime, my family doctor had also set up an appointment with a surgeon that's affiliated with the hospital and has his practice at Peterborough. So with inside of that, we saw the surgeon. He confirmed scans, so forth and so on, and didn't want to proceed with any surgery yet until about a chemotherapy had been done, and another biopsy on one of the other tumors was done. So that was then turned around and booked in, and then the follow-up appointment for him was booked in, and that was all to happen over the next 2-3 weeks. So in the meantime, we again returned to the naturopath. I was tested again, showed a lot of different improvements on different things, and that formula of medication was adjusted to the new testing, but as kind of normal with me, it had shown quite a bit of progression of improvement on the testing, which has always been the case with me through my life. Whenever I've gotten injured or whatever, I heal very fast. So that was, again, another positive thing that, again, just helped reinforce, and I was still feeling much better, and I'd almost felt like that I was getting a lot of energy back again. So I kept going with his protocols, and I also was always of the feeling I wasn't going to do chemo. I just had already heard and known, and then even by the 2-3 weeks of research that we'd done on it and so forth, and listened to other people, we've happened to have 2 or 3 friends that had family members go through it, and we heard their stories. None of them positive. But I decided to follow through with protocols that they wanted, because I wanted to know their factual side of what they were presenting, and I hadn't heard it from them. So I wanted that basis of knowledge as well. So I followed through with the appointment with the chemo doctor, and he basically just created the script. Oh, this is what you need to do. Chemo's gone a long way. We want to do some blood work to see what mixture we're going to do, and there'll be basically 2 different protocols of the medication that you're on. It's all in-house. You won't be laid up very much, and so forth. So when I did blood work, that came back all very good. And then was informed I had a booking for a teaching the following week. That was a must to attend. And nothing could happen unless you attended this thing. So I'm like, well, you could probably say all this in 10 minutes, and do I have to drive 2.5 hours back for this? I was basically told that's the way it is, and so we went, fine. Okay, I'm going to go to this thing and see what the actual script of it is. And again, the whole process of the people working in the field was very compassionate and very nice and hard-working people, and all well-intentioned. And I can't say a negative thing about them, other than they're just so deceived. Yet, we all have been in some manner or another. So they're wonderful people that work there, and I think they care a lot about what they're trying to do and are doing. So I don't confuse the two things. The actual boots on the ground and the medical mafia that's behind them pulling the strings are definitely 2 different animals, for lack of a better term. So I've been continuing being on the naturopath medications and doing the protocols. We went down to the teaching, as I like to refer to it, and very nice nurse and everything else that goes through the whole thing that's going to happen, and the chemo room and so forth. So as I'm sitting listening to her, there was one section that really pulled out, was that, okay, well, the port will go in, this is what the chemo bag will plug into, and then got into the procedure of, okay, your first bag will be 2 to 3 hours, then you'll plug into this one, and then you'll carry it around for 48 hours. And I was like, put right off. And I'm like, you want me to carry this thing around for 48 hours, plugged into me? And what are you talking about? And she goes, I can see you're really put off. And I went, well, yeah. She goes, well, we have to put this in so slowly, it takes 48 hours for it to be administered. And I went, okay. Then she went over some protocols for at home while you're on this, and it was, you know, you may, of course the word may, they like using all these mays and maybe and could be type of language, instead of coming right out and saying, this is what's going to happen to you. So I may be sick on this, and to be sure of things, make sure anybody, if it's not you that cleans it up, is wearing a mask and rubber gloves. And I'm kind of looking at her and going, okay, so let me put this in a little more simplest language and you tell me if I'm hearing you right or not. You're telling me that the stuff you're putting into me is so poisonous that even after it being in my system and going out into the environment in whatever method means, anybody getting in contact with it basically needs to be in hazmat. That's how bad this stuff is. But you want me to put this stuff in my body. And then, secondly, you're telling me, oh, by the way, and, you know I've kind of backed you into a corner, but it's the truth. None of this is a cure. You're just simply trying to reduce the speed that it's happening at or reduce the tumor. But nothing's a cure. But now you've given me all this poison that I have to have a blood test each time that you want to give it to me to make sure that I'm not so sick I can still handle another dosage, because you're killing off all my white cells. And then you're not curing me about nothing. What sense does this make to any kind of reasonable thinking? I got to tell you right now, I won't be doing this. And that was kind of the end of it. That was kind of the end of the journey for the quote-unquote medical system. I'm also not foolish about this either. It doesn't mean that things don't have their place. Obviously, all medical isn't wrong. We have emergencies rooms. You break a bone, you get fixed. You have something else, you get fixed. We don't need to slam the whole thing, but we do need to point out where the problems are. Along with that is, in the meantime, I've done enough research on having the biopsy done, and how many problems can occur from that biopsy, as well as plain and simply just spreading the tumor, just as a very basic one. And of course, this is slid off very slick in the language and the way that they dance around it. But basically, there's always human error too, and for any kind of this needle type of biopsy happening, there's the risk of that. They don't say how much the risk is. They won't. But it's enough of going, why do I need to do this? So you need a biopsy to tell me that you're going to go in and remove this, just to tell you whether you think it's cancerous or it's not. Well, if it's a mass, it's a mass. So if you're going in to remove it, what does it matter whether it's cancerous or it's not? Isn't that just another way of you saying, oh, it's cancerous, I'll go on chemo too? Isn't it that nice little circle of your medical protocols to keep you sicker and keep you dosed and keep the revenue going? So I turned down the biopsy. If the scan shows there's a mass there, then there's a mass there. If it is going to become problematic, then it would be removed, would it not? Just like the one that I'm fighting against now. So what's the point of me taking any risk at all? Especially when you're unwilling to give any guarantees. And the knowledge that you gain from it is irrelevant. So what's the point? This part of things does annoy me, but that's the way the system is, so you can't get upset by it. So that kind of ended the whole medical system. We saw the family doctor when we got back. We informed him of we're not doing these things, everything else, we're going the natural way. He was respectful of that decision. He also warned more kind of against all the charlatans out there and the natural things, and brings up this study hasn't been done and that study hasn't been done that proves anything that they say on this side. And of course my response was, well, of course not, because pharma only pays for their own things. The system won't pay for anything other than through pharma. So how can the studies be done? Also, they lay out the protocol so poorly that doing a study is just handed to their way anyway. So that's another whole subject anyway. But he was respectful and left all the doors open to be willing to see me on any other issues or anything that progressed and wanted to do anything more with. So that was good. And of course, we informed the surgeon part that we're not doing this. But if things got into the progression of now needing to go into a surgery or so forth, at least that protocol and the relationship with him has started. The files notice, the scans are there, an updated scan can be done, because I still do have the stent in that's keeping the large intestines open, and is relieving the pressures from the tumor. So to realize that it could come to actually having it surgically removed and a resection done is a possibility, and it needs to be logically looked at and taken care of, and make sure that if that was the case that happened, it could go the best as possible. So that's still in place. I thought it was just wise to leave those doors open. So moving forward, the next step for us was we found another natural path that's based in the States that again does a much more in-depth protocol with the cause just as well as the results of is going on at the moment, the causes of it. And I found it very interesting that one of his mainstay things was the causing of the cancer, the changing of your cells, is a lack of the lymphatic system, which I'd already tested for the adrenals not working, that affects the lymphatic and so forth. So I found that very interesting that they both had overlapped. One of the difference with things for his protocols was extreme diet. Basically, his stance in a nutshell is us as humans are fruitarians. We're not protein or animal eaters or even vegetarians. We're actually fruitarians. And him talking about alkaline levels and our acid being way too much acid with our diets and proteins and dairy and so forth is the main contributor to shutting down our systems that do take care of us, repair us, and flush out toxins. So that's his in a very short nutshell. So really start of his protocols was, especially for somebody in more my condition and at my stages, was a strictly fruit diet. Nothing else but fruits and berries. And the more mainstay of being strictly on grapes as possible, the better. So basically now for the last close to 4 weeks, I've been strictly on the fruits. Lots of apples and bananas and trying to be creative different ways. A lot of strawberries and blackberries and blueberries and using a little bit of soy milk. I think it's still a little bit of a cheat. I'm not quite sure, but you got to have liquid with something. So we make little smoothies out of different concoctions of the fruits, and then it's just a lot of eating fruits. And I'm much more into the grazing now, so it's just basically always having handfuls of fruit around you, and as soon as you're wanting, you dig away. And surprising enough, it wasn't a big shift for me, especially the first 2 weeks. I didn't have any want for anything else. The fruit seemed to be quite satisfying, and I'm sure it's because we have an objective at the end of it, and it's for a purpose. It's not just saying, geez, I want to lose 5 pounds. So I'm sure that had something to do with it, and just the mindset. But he also does have a full protocol of the medication, which again is fully natural, that you also use with the diet part. So, like this kind of, for instance, I'll mix in a little jar here. There's like, I gotta throw the glasses on here. I know this is a reflection because it's night, but sorry, I can't do anything without them. So this is like just a very natural extract out of the ingredients that are targeting specific. So this one is specifically targeting kidneys and bladder. So that's one of them. There's 5 of them altogether. I won't go through all of them. This one here is liver and gallbladder. I believe this one is parasites, which we all do carry, but some are very harmful, especially when you're already having problems. And this one's for adrenal. So there's 5 of them all together. We'll try the last one. Can't even pronounce it. Can't pronounce it. Sorry, not that smart. And then I'm on these pills, which are more just in a pill form, so they're dry form. The other ones I just mix up 3 parts because of my size and weight, 3 parts droppers in of all 5. I put a little shot of water in with it, down it, and that's it. These are taken, again, because of my size, I'm taking 3 capsules at a time. This one's stomach and bowels. So again, for me, it's targeted to my, this is cellular. And this one's kidneys and bladder. And again, that's targeting what your system uses to flush out your toxins. And between diet and each one of these, it's about targeting the bad cells, getting the system that's already done by our Creator, that is perfect, that we're fouling up, back functioning the way that it should. So I've been on this now for the last week, and my symptom results of it is I feel a real, and I think it's a combination. It's diet, because now I've been on the diet for 3 weeks too. So I'm not just addressing it to this. The diet really cleared up my thought process, no fogginess, quicker thinking, more mentally agile, if that makes sense, more energy. I've lost any kind of lethargic feeling at all. Really, I'm actually feeling better than I have in a long, long time overall. It's just my body's not keeping up to me anymore. So, the one little bit of downside about things for me, and I'll do some other videos about this, because I want to keep this on about the protocols, about things, kind of just where things are sitting. But for me right now, I'm feeling good, but I just can't last too long doing things. And the end result of the last 2 months has been I'm down 70 pounds. Now, for those that don't know me and so forth, don't really have a scale to go by. I've always been kind of a big guy, but a big guy in weight and size. I've never carried tons of fat with me. It's kind of hard to explain. I always see myself just as me. I just think I'm normal. But I think this thing has actually shown me just how blessed I was and how capable I was, because I'm not as much anymore. And that's a part that's kind of hard to deal with. And I'll get into that just in another short video. But basically, I'm down 70 pounds. I know at least 60 of it's muscle. And that's a bit of a shift. But I really feel like I've stabilized. I'm not crashing. And I don't feel like I'm crashing, where that first 2-3 weeks, in the week kind of prior, I mean, I was losing 10 pounds every 3 days. I could visually see that, I had 21-inch arms that are like 14 now. I was visibly able to see, I think I lost 50 pounds within the first month, which is now noticeable, I think, on me. and I feel the effects of that. So, but now it's just a matter of knowing that it's getting a handle on things and cleaning out your system and destroying the bad that's in you is going to have a protocol of most likely getting a little bit worse before it gets better, because it's actually, as I kind of refer to, is you're going to go through certain healing crises, you're going to go through certain other symptoms and things as your adrenals get going again and your kidneys start functioning and keep improving. So for me, it's all been a positive side of things, and when I can start feeling better through the day and having energy through the day, I'm not really too worried about, okay, you know what, after 6 hours of work or something, now I'm tired, or I just don't have the stamina to do things, I don't have the strength to lift things like I used to, and so forth. I think is a very small price to pay. So like I said, I'll try to keep these pretty short and so forth. I hope that keeps you up to date a little bit. Just the things for me right now is going to be staying on my protocols. This one will last for another 7-8 days, and then I've got another one that lasts 2 weeks from there. And then my intention is that will give me 2 months on, by the end of this month, 2 months on a natural medication route and on a diet route. And then I'm planning on booking into rescan areas and actually have a comparison of, okay, well, here's where I was 8-10 weeks ago, and this is where I'm at now. Let's see what the truth is. So that's kind of where things sit right now. And sorry, it was a little bit of a delay between number 1 and number 2 here. But that's just the way timing works out. So I'm allowed. In the meantime, stay positive. If you have questions and comments, please don't hesitate. I'm putting this out here for us to interact, and I hope it will do somebody some good. Just like I've been listening and I've been researching to people that are willing to put themselves out there and talk. I think it's important to do the same. So, blessings to you all. Take care, and see you in the next one.